Ask and ye shall receive. Today I'm here to share a great big autumnal book stack. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome to my reading life and welcome to a very autumnal video. I had asked in my last video if anyone was interested in seeing an autumnal book stack from my shelves, and so many of you said that you were. So I have rapid fire put this video together because I wanted to get it out there so that if any of you are interested in any of the titles that I'm sharing here today, that you have time to get them and put them on your autumnal TBR or pile of possibilities, whatever the case may be. I have pulled almost all of these books off of my shelf, and then I did have a request to maybe share a few upcoming releases, autumnal book releases that I'm excited about. And so I do have a few of those that will be coming later in the video, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But I have so many books to share today, so we are going to just get right into it. Although first, I did want to share this lovely new autumnal mug that I have now in my collection. Thanks to, I'm going to carefully turn this around so I don't spill my tea. Thanks to my lovely subscriber, Debbie. Debbie, thank you so much for sending me this beautiful autumnal mug. It says, "Autumn is proof that change can be beautiful." Isn't it just? Anyway, I absolutely love this mug. New favorite autumnal mug. I will be drinking out of it. You will probably be seeing it a lot in my upcoming videos, but thank you again, Debbie. That was so sweet of you to think of me and send me this lovely mug for my collection. But without further ado, let us get into all the autumnal books. Grab yourself a cup of something and let's dive in. I want to start off by saying that I had a hard time narrowing this down. We could be here all day. I probably have enough books on my shelves to fill 3 of this type of video, but I narrowed it down some. I tried to just pick the books that I'm really feeling drawn to at the moment, and I think are ones that I am going to want to try to get to in the upcoming months. Now, a couple of caveats with these. So I have not included in these stacks any books for the Cozy Reader Book Club or buddy reads that I am doing, or books that I'm planning to read for Victober this year. If you're not familiar with Victober, it is basically a read along to read Victorian novels in the month of October, and I will be participating in that, but I'll be sharing those books in a future video. So these are just books in addition to all of those things. And of course, there's no possible way I can get to all of these, but I do love to have a selection of things to suit every possible reading mood, and I think I might have done that here. And I thought you might like a little behind the scenes as to my rationale behind picking some of these titles. Now, some of them are set in the autumn. Some of them have clear autumnal themes. They are gothic in tone. They have to do with ghosts or mysteries. I also, of course, love books set in schools at this time of the year. I really like to read books about sort of settling in and setting up house. So I think I have a couple of those, perhaps. We shall see. But I think all of these are in keeping with sort of the autumnal feel that I'm going for when the weather starts to cool down, the days start to get shorter, and I just want to curl up under a blanket with a big mug of tea and dive into a cozy autumn book. That is what I was going for when I pulled these books off of my shelves. I have broken the books I am sharing today into a few different categories. So I'm going to be sharing some nonfiction books, some middle grade books, a few mysteries, and then some general fiction. And then at the very end, I'm going to share a few books that are going to be released this autumn that I'm excited about. So stay tuned for those as well. But we are going to start off today with nonfiction. And I have 4 nonfiction picks that I have put on my autumnal book stack. And the first is The House by the Sea by May Sarton. And this is a journal of when May Sarton moved from her New Hampshire home inland to a house on the coast of Maine. And that was in 1973. But actually, it looks like the journal starts in 1974 in November. And so because of that, even though this is a journal that traverses, I think, I don't know if it's the course of an entire year. Looks like it's the course of part of a year. So I thought because it starts in November, it might be fun to pick this up in the autumn months. And because May Sarton is a very sort of reflective, introspective author, I just felt like that's the kind of nonfiction that I'm drawn to at this time of year. And so that is why this one is going on the autumn book stack. And then next, because there's nothing I love more than to be cozy in the autumn months, so I picked Cozy. This is The Art of Arranging Yourself in the World by Isabel. I'm not sure if it's Gillies. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is all about being cozy. I think even in situations or environments or what have you that are not necessarily in and of themselves cozy. So finding a way to make life cozy no matter where you are or what your environment is. So it says, from old family recipes to subway rides, from jury duty to hospital stays, Gillies picks up where Hugga leaves off, showing readers that true coziness stems not only from throw pillows, but from seizing opportunities to feel that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. So that sounds lovely. And I have had this book on my shelf for a few years now, but I very much want to cozy up with Cozy. I also find myself in the autumn months to be drawn to writings about nature and the natural world. And as such, I picked up this book, which I feel like has such an autumnal looking cover on it. And I've been wanting to read this ever since I purchased it when it first came out. And that is Upstream by Mary Oliver. This is a collection of essays by Mary Oliver, so not her poetry that she is, I think, probably most famous for. And I adore her poetry, so I'm very much looking forward to diving into these essays. And like I say, I think I put this on every autumn TBR pile of possibilities stack that I've had since I first purchased this book, and I've yet to read it. But maybe 2025 is going to be the year. If you've read this, convince me that I absolutely need to pick this up this fall because this is very high on my want to read list. And then my last nonfiction in this pile is a sort of food memoir. And I grabbed this book because one of you, and I'm terribly sorry, but I forget which one of you mentioned this book, which apparently mentions my favorite author, Laurie Colwin. But that was enough. I was sold. I had to get this book. And that is Kitchen Yarns by Anne Hood. And this is Notes on Life, Love, and Food. Now, in the autumn months, I'm definitely more in the mood to spend time in the kitchen, cooking and baking, and I'm not great at either of those things, but I do love to read a good food memoir, and it feels like the autumn months will be perfect for cozying up with this particular book and maybe something delicious that I've made to eat and enjoying Anne Hood's writings about food and looking for that mention of Laurie Colwin because very excited that she's mentioned in this book. So thank you again to the lovely viewer who brought this book to my attention. Next up, we have the middle grade books that have made their way onto my autumnal book stack. And of course, as I've mentioned, I love books that are set in schools. And I think this book might be sort of the epitome of the English boarding school book series, and that is Mallory Towers by Enid Blyton. So this is the first collection, which I think contains, the first 3 books in the Mallory Towers series. So it's first term at Mallory Towers, second form at Mallory Towers, third year at Mallory Towers. And I don't know if I will read the entire 3 books in this bind up, but I would love to at least get to the first book because I've heard lovely things about Mallory Towers. And like I said, I am always here for a boarding school story. I know lots of you feel that way too. So I will let you know what I think of Mallory Towers when I hopefully read it this autumn. And then next is a book in a series that I really, really want to finish before too long because it's one of those book series that I cannot believe I didn't read as a child. And I've so enjoyed savoring it now that I have discovered it as an adult. And this is the next book I need to read in the series, which is Anne of Windy Poplars by L.M. Montgomery. And of course, this is the next book in the Anne series. And I think this is her first year. She's the principal of Summerside High School. So we're going to follow her through that experience. And I believe it begins in the fall when the fall term of school begins. So again, set in a school sounds perfect for the autumnal months. And of course, spending more time with Anne is always a delight. And then next is a book which I think will be perfect for October specifically, because I believe it has to do with witches or witchcraft or something along those lines. And it's by one of my very favorite middle grade authors. And that is Jennifer, Hecate, Macbeth, William McKinley, and Me, Elizabeth by E.L. Konigsberg. And I mean, the cover is orange. So how could I not read this in October? It seems perfect for that. And also, you know, it has my name in the title. So October's my birthday month. This feels like this must happen, right? And again, I can't believe I didn't read this when I was growing up. I can't remember. Let's see. When was this first published? Yeah, it was published in 1967. So I don't know why I didn't read this after I read From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler, which is one of my favorite middle grade books of all time. But I don't think that I did. So, or if I did, I really don't remember it. So now is the time to finally get to this one. So this will definitely, you will see this popping up, I believe, on my October pile of possibilities. And then my last middle grade book is not only set in a school, but it is also a mystery, which I just feels like the collision of two things that I absolutely love to read in the autumn. And that is Murder is Bad Manners by Robin Stevens. This is the first book in the Wells and Wong mystery series. And I actually have the Christmas book of this series. And when I talked about it last holiday season, everyone said I needed to read this in order and to get the first book. I think the Christmas one is maybe book 3 or 4. So I need to read this one. Then I think I need to read at least one more before I can read the Christmas mystery. But I grabbed Murder is Bad Manners. And again, this takes place in an English boarding school. Very excited. I mean, it has a map on the inside. It has a cast of characters listed. I am very much looking forward to this series. I think I'm going to love it. So thank you to all of you who recommended that I pick this one up and start the series from the beginning. Next up are a few mysteries. I have 3 mysteries here that I'm going to share that made it onto my autumn book stack. One is actually a collection of short stories that I started earlier this year, but I am bound and determined to finish it, and I think it'll be perfect for autumn. And that is English Country House Murders. This is edited by Thomas Godfrey, and I think I only read the first story in this collection, which was an Arthur Conan Doyle. And then next up is actually a Wilkie Collins. So that might be good to read in October for Victober, since Wilkie Collins is a Victorian author. But I definitely want to read through this short story collection. So I may just put this on my bedside table and just kind of, you know, read through it as the mood strikes me. But I would love it if I could get this finished by the end of November. This book has been sitting on my unread shelf for a ridiculous amount of years. So it is time to finally read through all the stories in here. And then next up is the first book in a series that I have been wanting to start for ages. I think I have 4 or 5 of the books in this series on my unread shelf to read, but this is the very first book, and so where better to start? And that is Peter the Latvian by Georges Simenon. This is the first in the Maigret mysteries, and yes, very much looking forward to giving this one a try. Finally, I watched the Rowan Atkinson Maigret mystery series that was put out by the BBC a few years ago. It is fantastic. In fact, I might watch it again because I loved it so much and it was way too short. I wish they had made a lot more episodes than they did, but it's fantastic. So I'm very excited to finally meet Meg Ray on the page, though I have read a few of the Christmas short stories. I have a collection of Meg Ray Christmas short stories, and I've read some in that collection. So, but this will be my first Georges Simenon novel. Very excited about this one. And then the last mystery that I have in this autumn book stack is one I picked for a few reasons. My name's in the title. It has to do with a costume party, which I don't know, costume parties just feel autumnal, probably because we celebrate Halloween here in the US, but I'm not sure exactly what time of year this book is set in. However, it sounds just like it is right up my alley, and that is Jumping Jenny by Anthony Berkeley. This is part of the British Library Crime Classics series, and I am very much looking forward to this one. Yes. Has anyone read Jumping Jenny? Can you tell me if you loved it or not? Don't tell me if you didn't. I don't want to know. But I also think the cover of this feels kind of autumnal, just the colors and everything. So whether it's set in the autumn or not, I don't know, but it's a mystery with my name in it, set at a costume party. I'm here for it. And now we're going to get to the great big stack of just kind of general fiction books that I have pulled off of my shelves that I want to read. The first book that I have in the general fiction category is by an author who I feel like kind of must reinvent himself in all of his books, because I've only read one thing by him, but I have a few of his other books and they are all completely different. And the book I picked for autumn is Too Many Ghosts by Paul Gallico. You may know Paul Gallico. I think he's most famous for having written Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, which is a fantastic book. But this one has to do, I think, with a haunted house. There's a poltergeist, and then a psychic investigator comes in to like exorcise the premises. So again, ghosts, Halloween, October. This feels autumnal to me. I have no idea what this is going to be like. I'm gonna at least give it a go. Then next I have 3 books that are all from the Dean Street Press Furrowed Middlebrow imprint because, well, I just can't say no to any Dean Street Press books. And I have so many on my shelf and I really want to get to some of them. So I pulled off 3 that felt a little bit autumnal to me or are set in the autumn. And the first one is The Musgraves by D.E. Stevenson. And this follows Esther, and her husband has just passed away. And so she feels like she will never be happy again. And then we follow her and sort of the problems and adventures of her 3 daughters. She has unmarried Delia, cheerful and practical Margaret, and young Kate just out of school. And they bring her pleasure and purpose anew. So I think we're just going to follow along with what happens in The Musgraves. I guess this has characters from The Tall Stranger in it. Someone tell me if I need to read that one first. Okay. Let me know if I should read that before The Musgraves or if I can read them in any order. I might have to look into that. So, but I want to read a D.E. Stevenson. If I don't read this one, maybe I'll pull the next Mrs. Tim off of my shelves and read that one instead. But we shall see. And then next, because I have just fallen in love with this author over the past year or so, and that is Molly Clavering. This is Touch Not the Nettle. And this, I believe, is set in the autumn months. I think it begins in September. And we're going to follow Susan Armstrong and her husband, Jed. And then his irritating cousin comes to visit. Her pilot husband is missing, and then there are, sounds like, complications with some neighbors. It just sounds like, you know, village life and family life and all of the dramas that lie therein. And I'm here for anything Molly Clavering has to write or say. So very much looking forward to this one. And then the third Furrowed Middlebrow book that I pulled off my shelf for my autumn book stack is Miss Carter and the Ifrit by Susan Alice Kirby. And an Ifrit is sort of like a genie golem type character. And yes, so this has something a little bit fantastical, a little bit magical going on in it, which again, I feel a little bit more drawn to those types of books in the autumn months, and it's the final months of World War II, and we're following Georgina Carter. She's a single woman in her late 40s. She works in the censorship office, and then she buys some wood blocks from a blitzed roadway, one of which, when burned in her fireplace, releases a long-imprisoned Ifrit. Do not call him a genie. Eager to do her bidding. He's nicknamed Joe, and it sounds like they're going to have all kinds of adventures, things that happen. And I'm sure things will go awry, but yes, I'm very much looking forward to this one. My friend Melissa read this and raved about it, and so I'm very excited to get to this one. So that is my third furrowed middlebrow book on this autumn book stack. And then next is a book that is a complete Miranda Mills made me do it. She had a recent video, I think it was books that she wished she could read again for the first time. And this was one of the books that she mentioned, and it sounded really intriguing to me. And that is O Caledonia by Elspeth Barker. And I believe this is a coming of age story, but there's a murder in it. And yeah, it says it begins with the body of 16-year-old Janet discovered in her Scottish Highlands home. There is no shortage of suspects in the murder of the unlovely and unloved Janet. It says, despite this opening scene, O Caledonia is not a whodunit, but an account of our ill-fated young heroine's life, from birth to early death, about sibling bonds and betrayals, isolation and loneliness, the miseries of adolescence, and the saving grace of books. Okay, well, that's all I need to hear. And Miranda Mills raved about it, so very much looking forward to this, and that sounds kind of autumnal to me. And then next is a book by an author that I've heard lots of people talk about but have never read myself. And that book is Echoes Among the Stones by Jamie Jo Wright. And I believe this is a dual timeline book. It's set in Wisconsin. And we're following Aggie Dunkirk. She's going to visit her grandmother, and who is obsessing over an old unsolved crime scene. She's even gone so far as to recreate it in a dollhouse. And then we are also going back to 1946. Imogene Grayson works in a beauty salon, but has her sights set on Hollywood. But she comes home and discovers her younger sister's body in the attic, and that changes everything. So we're going to follow along with these two stories and see how they intertwine. But yes, has anyone read this one or anything by Jamie Jo Wright? I've heard some good things about her. So I have had this book on my shelf since May of 2020. So I feel like it's time to at least give it a try this autumn. And then next is a book that I purchased because I heard about it on the Tea or Books podcast. And I believe Simon and Rachel read this for one of their episodes. If I can find the episode, I will link it in the description box. But this is all about a house, an English country manor house. And I think we follow it through a number of its different owners. And the book is The Half Crown House by Helen Ashton. And I have been wanting to read this for a long time, since I first heard about it, which I think was over 2 years ago. And I just like the idea of reading about homes and sort of like people and their home environments in the autumn months. I don't know, it just feels autumnal to me in some way. So it's on the autumn book stack because of that. So I really hope I get to this because this is one of those books I keep thinking about and can't get out of my mind. And I feel like I just need to read it so that I can stop dreaming about it and can actually have it be a reality in my reading life. And then next is a book by the only author to show up on this book stack twice. This is a book I have had I've probably had this book for, I want to say 15 or more years, and I found this at Half Price Books on their clearance cart, which used to be my very best friend when I worked near Half Price Books. They had the best clearance cart. I found so many good books that way. This is kind of an unexpected collection, I think, from an author that's known for writing very, very cozy books, and that is Among the Shadows by L.M. Montgomery. And this is Tales from the Darker Side. It says 19 newly discovered stories. And I think this was published first in 1990, I believe. And yes, so some kind of spookier, darker tales from L.M. Montgomery. I don't know. I'm so curious. Has anyone read this? Again, I've had this book for so long and I never pick it up. I always put it again on my TBRs for sort of the October, November months and then don't seem to get to it, but maybe this year. Somebody tell me you've read this and loved it, or that, you know, some of the stories in here are really great. So curious about this one. And then the last book on my just kind of general fiction autumn book stack is a book by an author who, I don't know, whenever I think about her, she just feels like there's something a little bit darker about her writing, I think. I haven't read her, so I don't know for sure. And even though I think this book starts in the summertime, it sounds very kind of gothic, and I just feel like this is a book I want to read in the autumn. And that book is The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters. Again, my friend Melissa read this, I think at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, and raved about it. And so I was said to myself, I have to get a copy of this book. And so I did. And Melissa, I'm going to try and read it now. Then we can talk about it. I also know Gina Stanier loves Sarah Waters. I mean, so many people love her. And I have never read her before. So I think this is going to be my first Sarah Waters book. Let's see. Yeah, it says, in a dusty post-war summer in rural Warwickshire, a doctor is called to see a patient at lonely Hundreds Hall. Home to the Ayres family for over 2 centuries, the once grand house is now in decline, its masonry crumbling, its garden choked with weeds. All around, the world is changing and the family is struggling to adjust to a society with new values and rules. It sounds like they're trying to keep the house and the estate together, but sounds like maybe they're having trouble doing that. And then it sounds like this doctor who becomes more and more entwined in the Ayres' lives starts seeing some more disturbing sides to things. I don't know, but sounds very, very fascinating. Not necessarily my normal type of read, but sometimes I'm in the mood for something a little darker. So I'm going to give Sarah Waters a try. I also have The Paying Guests by her on my shelf as well. So I'm hoping I like this one. And then hopefully I will pick that one up not too far in the future as well. So, and if you've read Sarah Waters and you have a particular book of hers that you love, please leave that in the comments. I would love to hear that. For the final piece of this autumn book stack, I went looking at some of the books that are being published in the autumn months this year, and I found more than I could share in this video, which is already getting to be quite long. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to share 3 books, one being published in September, one in October, one in November that I'm excited about. But then I'm going to share all of the rest of the upcoming new releases that I'm excited about on my Patreon. This is going to be available to both tiers on my Patreon. So whether you're a book friend or a book Jenny, you will have access to this video. You should already have access to this video. It is up and live already over there on my Patreon. I will link my Patreon here in the cards, and it's always linked in the description box below if you would like to join me over there. That little bit of extra support really does help me give more for this channel, spend spend more time creating content here on YouTube. So if you would like to support me in that way, that would be lovely. And we do have such a wonderful bookish community over there. I would love to have you join us. And then you'll get to see this little bonus video of some of the upcoming new releases that I'm excited about. But I have 3 of them to share with you today. The first one, of course, this probably goes without saying, but this absolutely had to be on this video. I have already pre-ordered this book and it should be coming to me very soon, and that is The Country Commonplace book by Miranda Mills. I am so excited for her. I don't know Miranda Mills. She doesn't know me, I don't think. But she's just one of those sort of YouTube, booktube personalities where you just feel like you know her, and I'm so thrilled that she is having a book published. And so yes, very much excited for the Country Commonplace book. Cannot wait to dive into it when my copy arrives, and I'll be sure to share all about it once I receive it and read it. And yes, very much looking forward to that one. So that is being released here in the US. I think it comes out September 23rd, right around there. So if you haven't yet pre-ordered a copy, you still can. I will have a link, of course, to that book and to all of the books that I have mentioned. I always have links in my description box. If you're ever looking for a book, you can go down there. If you do click on those links, they are affiliate links, and those do help me out a little bit as well. It's no extra charge or any cost to you. It just gives me a little something back if you purchase through those links in the description box. And the next book, which is being released in October, is the next in the Phillida Bright mystery series by Colleen Cambridge. And that is Two Truths and a Murder. So this is book 5 in the Phillida Bright mystery series. Phillida Bright is the fictional housekeeper of Agatha Christie. And I really enjoy this mystery series. If you're a fan of the T.E. Kinsey Lady Hardcastle mystery series, I think that this mystery series is very similar in tone. And I love this on audio. So I am definitely going to be getting the audiobook of this one. Cannot wait. So excited that it's coming out in my birthday month. So that will be my audiobook birthday treat to myself. And then the third new release that I'm excited about that will be coming out in November is 100 Rules for Living to 100, An Optimist's Guide to a Happy Life by Dick Van Dyke. I mean, if anyone is going to give us rules for living to 100, it is Mr. Van Dyke himself, who is just turned 100. What an amazing man he is. I've loved Dick Van Dyke since I was little. My mom loved the Dick Van Dyke Show, and so we used to watch it many days after I would come home from preschool and kindergarten, and we would sit and watch it while we were eating lunch, and I just have fond memories of that. And of course, he's been in so many movies and television shows, and he is just such a force, and he seems like a really lovely man. So I'm excited to see what his 100 tips are. And that sounds like a fantastic nonfiction read for November. And again, if you'd like to see even more new release picks from me that I'm excited about, head on over to my Patreon and check out that video. And that will wrap it up for my autumn book stack. I really hope that you enjoyed this. I am going to be doing some 5-star predictions from the books in my autumn book stack. That is going to be coming up in a week or so. So stay tuned for those 5-star predictions, and we'll see what I think might be 5 stars from all of these books that I shared, and then we'll have to find out if I'm actually going to read them this time. I read 4 of them over the summer, so that was pretty good, 4 out of 5. But let me know down in the comments, are there any of these books that sound intriguing to you? Do you want to put any of them on your autumn book stack? I would love to chat all things autumnal reads. What are you looking forward to reading this fall? Do you have any new releases you're looking forward to, books on your shelves? Whatever the case might be, let's talk all things autumn reading. And if you're here, but you don't have anything you'd like to add in the comments, but you'd like to let me know you were here because comments really do help my channel, why don't you leave, of course, an autumnal emoji, falling leaves, jack-o'-lantern, a mug of tea, whatever it might be that screams autumn to you. Leave those down in the comments below. As I said, those comments really do help my channel, and I just love seeing those emojis. They just brighten up my day, make me so happy. So thank you all for leaving those comments. I really do appreciate it. And if you did enjoy this video, if you could hit that like button and subscribe. If you aren't already subscribed, I would love to have you join my bookish community. And thank you so much to those of you who pushed the super thanks button on my last video. I really do appreciate that little bit of extra support. And thank you to all of you just for being here, for taking time out of your day to spend it with me here in my cozy corner of BookTube. And I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye!